Hey guys, welcome to the new market update video. Well, we finally had the big move we were all waiting for. We've been consolidating below this previous all-time high for quite a while. Took 1.5 months. In general, or in overall, this consolidation took about 8 months, which is perfectly in line with the 2024 and the 2023 summer or early year into summer consolidation. So the fact that we started moving now is not that crazy, as it's mostly in line with the previous consolidations. So from here, for me, it's pretty simple. We've broken out of this range. You don't want to see us trade back into this. I think this would be a big reason to be cautious. If this is bullish, it shouldn't have any business going back down there. So we treat this as a breakout, and unless something strange happens where it does deviate back below, I think the best thing is to remain bullish and just continue on with the trend. Of course, there will definitely be dips. I mean, this move itself is pretty violent as well. Like, you can even see things like this, but as long as it's quick wicks, quick buy back up, that's perfectly fine, of course. Like, I'm not gonna be super turbo bullish, as I do think like my overall expectation for the cycle is like 120 to 150k ish for BTC. So, well, I do think we can easily go higher with this trend, and for all I know, we go much higher than that. But I did put out a tweet that I will start slowly scaling out of my longer term exposure, and that doesn't mean I'm bearish here. I do think we go higher, but it just means we're, in my opinion, towards the later stages of the cycle. I think potentially for alts there's much more upside, as obviously those underperformed a lot. So, but for BTC, I think the upside relatively is kind of kept. Like, let's say even if you go to 200k, that's like a little over 50% here. Of course, 50% is a lot, and it's a bit more than that. But just to show you, like, the percentages itself aren't that crazy anymore. That's I also do think eventually, as more people realize that and come to that assumption that alts might get some strength from that, as people look at BTC and they're like, okay, well, maybe this goes to 100 or 200k. I can't even get a 2x anymore. You know how people think. And then they'll look to the next best thing, for example, ETH. Oh, that's a 2x to all-time high. Well, I can easily get like maybe a 3x out of that. So I'll go into ETH instead. And that way people go further and further down the risk curve, and that's eventually how the cycle tops as well, because people would just go crazy into other things and BTC loses strength and etc. etc. You know how it goes. So with that said, I will just slowly start scaling out, do a few small sells here and there, and that's about it. And then two things I wanted to highlight real quick to keep in mind for the more cautious side. So currently our high was made on the 11th of July. So it's the 11th of the month, and I'm not sure why it shows here as it was in 13 to 15, but anyways, this should be here. But this is a statistics dashboard. Shout out to Sergio Tesla. It's a great guy. He built this with brighter data. So what this shows you is it tracks all the highs, the lows, and the timings on after which they happened. In this case, it's for the monthly statistics. So what this shows you is that about 80% or so of the highs, or like the first pivot of the month, are made in the first 12 days or so. So what this means is that you rarely ever make a new high, for example, after the first 2 weeks, and then proceed to take out a low. So in this case, our current low of the month sits here on the 2nd of July, and our current high sits on the 11th of July. So let's say this makes a new high after, like, in a few days, then it's pretty much never happened in the past 4 years that it proceeds to then take out this low. So it's kind of a bit of an assurance that it's unlikely at that point that it will go down back there. But for now, we're still in this spot where technically you could set the monthly high or low, or in this case the high here, and proceed to trend back down. But of course, at this point, I don't think it's likely, but it's good to keep in mind that we are still at this point. Like, for the past year or so, we have made a lot of highs or lows of the month within the first 12 days, usually within the first week. So it wouldn't be that crazy, but of course something will have to happen. And then on to the next thing. Two things I want to highlight here. Yesterday, I'm now recording on Sunday, Trump came out, he said they will impose a 30% tariff on the EU and Mexico. That's higher than the Liberation Day tariffs. So that's pretty massive. Market really didn't care, of course. Stock market is closed, so you will have yet to be seen what the impact will be on that. But this is massive, but the market didn't react because, of course, we know Trump always chickens out, is what everyone is saying. So people don't think he'll be tough and go through with these things if it would actually go into place at that point, and there's no lowering of the tariffs before the 1st of August. It would be pretty brutal, I think. I think 30% on these countries will definitely have a big impact. But it just shows you, because these things have been getting delayed and then they're getting reduced, etc. So people just don't care anymore. And I think that's fair to assume, because it's always been seen. But it also puts a bit of a danger. Like, let's say at some point he's done with it and they will go through because they don't get what they want. At that point, of course, the market is completely unprepared, and you get something like I don't think we'll go that low, of course, but we'll get something like Liberation Day, where people are just surprised by, okay, shit, this is actually happening. And they'll just be, they're not hedged, they're not protected, and at this point people are assuming it won't go through because he'll chicken out. So that's something to keep in mind here. And additionally, like 50 minutes before this announcement came, there were some massive shorts on BTC and ETH. So I was seeing this, I was instantly going to the news feed, and I was like, okay, something has just dropped, but nothing came until 50 minutes later when this news came. So to me, that's pretty clear that there were some insiders that knew this was going to come out. They market shorted BTC and ETH for like 150 and 100 mil. And then, of course, the news came a little bit later. Shorts closed out and they pocketed a decent profit. Of course, the move wasn't massive, but still, just shows you that it's not an equal playing ground, and there's always insiders with these things. So that's good to keep in mind. Not that you can do anything about it, but be aware of it. So yeah, that's really, the tariff thing is something to keep watching here, as these are pretty massive with some big trading partners, and the market just doesn't care. I mean, we've seen in general BTC against S&P. This was when the first tariff drama started. It outperformed, and now when the new tariffs started dropping, the new letters came out, the percentages were known, stocks kind of, I mean, they're all at all-time high, but they kind of chilled out. But BTC really started rallying. So you can really see here again that during all this trade uncertainty, BTC is shining. So maybe even if it turns for the worse, BTC can kind of hold up well, just like it did in April. But still, these things are good to watch. Then something else. If we account for the value loss in the dollar over the past few months, BTC isn't even at all-time high just yet. So this shows an entirely different story here, where we're trading well above all-time high in dollar valuation. But actually, when we account for the DXY, which is the dollar index, we're not even there just yet. So this shows you how the relative value can be so different when you account for these currencies that either gain or lose a lot of value. In this case, the dollar lost over 10% of its value since early this year. Which just makes the entire view much different. But I mean, if we account for the dollar value, we're still stuck in this range as we speak. So don't think you should necessarily chart this, but it does give you a good indication of how strong or weak something really is. Because especially for stocks, which are now also at all-time high, but when we account for the dollar, you can see how this can still easily be just a lower high, etc. in something that might mean a larger cool down or something. So yeah, it really tells a different story. Well, this thing still pretty accurate. If only I traded it exactly as here, with like these swings in between, would have been nice. I really wonder if this is gonna play out. Once again, I put this drawing on here as a bit of a rough estimate how I thought the cycle would go. And I did it when the drawing started here at the start of 2024. So yeah, kind of interesting. Total market cap, nice breakout, also yet to reach its all-time high. Good one to watch here, as right now it's obviously at resistance. The total 2, which is the altcoin market cap, looking nice potentially, but it's right at this support resistance level. So we were looking for this level to be flipped for altcoin sentiment and risk appetite to improve. Ideally, we trade a bit higher here and then consolidate, and then don't trade below this point ever again. But for now, of course, we're still in this pretty uncertain zone, because like it takes one candle, you're back down here. That wouldn't be great, but yeah, we need to see continuation here. And the same for ETH. It finally broke the 2.8k level, which has been very important throughout the cycle, as you can see, like probably the most tapped and well-respected level in the cycle for any coin for that matter. This should have, similar to BTC, going back below its range, this should have no business going back below 2.8k, like nothing at all. If it does it, I think that's going to be very bearish, and you'll probably look for another test of the range lows again. So really need to hold up here, I think. And then, of course, at this point, it looks good, and your invalidation is clear. You don't want it below here. So risk reward is good, I think, but something to keep in mind. Always be aware of your invalidation. Then we have Solana, looks decent. It's not the strongest, to be honest. I think if ETH continues and looks the way it does, that might take some shine away from Solana. I also don't see meme coins performing that well just yet. The pump fund launch was pretty solid, although not really expecting too much from it after a few weeks. Yeah, so we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. But Solana still feels pretty slow. I think ETH looks arguably better and has better risk reward in my opinion. It's one I like. This one looks pretty solid here. I think with the stablecoin hype, etc., this also getting into the RWA sector looks good. I think this has the potential to really run, but for now we're still range bound. We're now in the middle of the range. Like this was a nice retest, but we need to break above this area here to really get it going. Then we have Litecoin getting closer to this 106, 105 level. I think that could be the setup for a move higher. But for something like this, you really need some kind of BTC run to 150k plus or something. Like these coins can run well, can run quickly, but it's a big range here. Like it's like 3 years. Like AVAIL looked similar as this one. Like this, pretty similar. And here as well, you had the initial breakdown, and then the second break really got it going. So maybe we'll get something like this, but you need some crazy market sentiment and short squeezes, etc. Maybe it can do it, but anyway, it's good to watch this level. Yeah, I mean, this has been doing okay, similar to XRP. It's a few of these major coins, so that's good that these are performing relatively well for the rest of the market. Overall, like I'm not always a fan of this one, just because it's so large and I don't know. I'm still unsure what to do. Might be my issue of not reading into it too much, but it's a good coin to trade, that's for sure, because it always runs when the rest does. And kind of surprised actually that this level held as well as it did here with all these tests. Gonna be a good one eventually. Like in a bear market, if this loses this, it's gonna go way back down here. But for now, we're nowhere close. This breakout looks okay. So keeping an eye on this, like if you consolidate a bit here, then maybe you can buy some breakout for the next leg higher. Curve, which is also looking decent, I think, with the stablecoin narrative, but same here as Ethena, in the middle of the range. You want to see it break above this area here. Tau, well, of course, this is basically the AI leader at resistance, but I think a move up here could be the breakout it needs to finally go and test these levels up here around this. Well, this one is of course all-time high, but these 500 equal highs, which we've got about 4 of them, and I think this move from like 400 to 500 could be pretty quickly if we can get the breakout. Then we have mental. Finally seeing some strength here from this support. Want to see it sustain above 65 cents now. I think that could be the setup it needs to potentially trade a bit higher, test 85 cents again, and go from there. There's a lot of coins that look similar to this, where you got the breakdown, deviation, breakback above. CHEX is one of them. Looks pretty nice, I think. Well, potentially if it gets back above 13.5 cents. Fell very deep here, but has seen a good rebound so far. And same here, tested all the way back down to its breakout level from late last year. Sometimes it really needs to revisit this, and then from there on out it can go. I mean, it took all the liquidity down below. If we can back above here, we can start playing this range again. Eventually, this is similar to Tau, where you have all these equal highs, where if you get to this point and you do get a breakout, then it can really start accelerating hard. But I do think we'll need an overall like RWA season or sector heating up again for kind of just consolidating here. We were looking for something like this, technically kind of got it, but to really turn this trend around short term, we want to break above here, make a new higher high, and then eventually test this green zone. Wormhole looks decent, I think. It looks pretty good actually. Down here we were also like you can see this is all a similar setup. So deviation, break back into the range, retest, and now from here on out you want to keep this trend going, get to the range highs, and then yeah, play it as such. I think setups like these are pretty abundant right now, and they are good potential higher time frame market structure shifts. So these things have all trended down for a long time. They've seemingly found a bottom, tested or swept all the liquidity, tested the support, now changing market structure, and from here on out this would be the first target on the higher time frame. And of course, if you break this, then you can start retesting some of these previous resistances up here and go from there and there. But that's when things really can start accelerating if we get some kind of alt season. We have AVAIL, which is a new buy of mine. Chart is a bit messy here because liquidity isn't the best just yet, but same here, same kind of setup. I do think with ETH running that these infrastructure coins are gonna become more or gonna become hotter again. I think these kind of coins can run pretty quickly, especially this, for example, has a Binance Alpha listing or mention, and usually that means the Binance futures or spot listing comes at some point, and eventually things start running up into those. And what I like here, this move down was so inefficient that if you were to retake this range high up here, which isn't that much up yet, then you'll easily fill up this inefficiency up here. That generally goes pretty quickly, I think, especially on the second test. So yeah, just playing this range, hopefully it can hold on to this support and does something similar to Wormhole. I mean, you can see they're all very similar. And then another one of these is Pinlink. I was looking for RWA coins. This came across my path, and it basically crosses the RWA and BTC Fi narrative pretty well. I do still think we'll see a BTC Fi or like basically infrastructure on the Bitcoin network. I think we'll see another run in that. We saw it late 2023 when we had things like stacks and such running pretty well. I think we'll get another run, especially seeing Bitcoin dominance now sits as high as it is. There's a lot of BTC idle. Well, it could be earning yield, and I think that will eventually fuel this sector or narrative again. But same here. Setup looks very clean to me, just watching this range for now. And even moves to these range highs, they're like 2x's on a lot of these coins. Like you can see it even on Wormhole, which is a massive market cap. It's almost a 2x, just playing from one point to the other point of the range. I mean, the downtrend has shifted here, so I don't think these moves are that far-fetched. Like at that point, they're still down a lot, and there's a lot of shorts in there, and seems impossible, but the percentages just to get back to some old highs are pretty large at this point, and that's why I also think with BTC playing sitting as high as it is, eventually people are gonna look to try and get these comeback plays on alts. Of course, most inflows are still into BTC. I think it's gonna remain strong. It's probably a really solid bet, and it's the majority of my portfolio. But I do think eventually the higher BTC goes, the more attractive some of these alts are gonna be, especially if they are gonna be left behind. So that's pretty much it for now. Let's hope we hold this range high. For ETH, hold 2.8k, and then from there on out we should be good. If not, and we go down below here, we're gonna go back into defensive and cautious mode, and I think then you'll probably have the slow summer, which I kind of expected us to have, and you might get a run later in the year. So pretty key area up here, but we've done the hard part here. Now it's just a matter of sustaining, and hopefully this I removed it, the tariff stuff doesn't turn out as bad as it could. Like, hopefully Trump chickens out again, they can make a deal, etc. Because the 30%, I'm telling you now, like, if that goes through by the end of this month, it's gonna be pretty brutal. I think markets will sell off on it, but we got a few weeks, and yeah, let's see. Just hope the market isn't gonna be too surprised if it goes bad, because I think it will be, because no one really values his words anymore, and if he actually goes through with it, it's going to be a bit painful in the short term, I think, but nothing we can't handle. And of course, like we discussed, BTC has been super strong during all this tariff drama and trade uncertainty, so we'll just wait and see. For now, I'd say go with the trend. There's definitely some action out there on alts, plenty to research and trade, etc. So I think these are the times to really watch and spend time. Not when you get this kind of period, but now there should be more action and also narratives and stuff which are gonna pop up. So with that said, I thank you all very much for watching and have a nice day. Bye bye.